The day my grandfather's will was read in my family made sure I understood exactly how little I meant to them. And then the lawyer slid a rusted key across the table and told me not to open it at night. If stories like this pull at something deep in you, subscribe. I didn't belong in that room. Not really. The chairs were too clean. The air smelled like polished wood and quiet money. And everyone there, they looked like they'd already decided how this was going to end. I sat at the far corner of the table, hands folded, trying not to take up space. My cousin leaned over at one point and whispered just loud enough for me to hear. Didn't even visit him once and still showed up for the will. I didn't respond because it wasn't true, but explaining it wouldn't matter. It never had. I hadn't been welcome in that family for years. Not after my mother died. Not after I aged out of a system that forgot my name before I turned 18. Not after I stopped showing up to places where people pretended not to see me. By the time I heard my grandfather had passed, I hadn't spoken to anyone in that room in almost a decade. Still, I came. Not for money, just to see if I still existed to someone who once knew me when I was small. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. He read through pages of names and numbers like he was reading a grocery list. Land went to my uncle. The main house went to my aunt. Stocks, accounts, vehicles, all divided neatly between people who had never struggled a day in their lives. I sat there quietly, waiting for the part where my name wouldn't be called. Because that's what I expected. That's what I'd trained myself to expect. Nothing. But then the lawyer paused. He looked up, and for the first time his eyes landed directly on me. "There is one final item," he said. The room shifted. People leaned forward. He picked up a smaller envelope, older, thicker. "This is designated specifically to you." The silence got heavier. Like something had gone wrong. He slid the envelope across the table. It stopped right in front of me. I didn't open it right away. I could feel them watching, waiting, measuring. I finally lifted the flap. Inside, a key, old, rusted, heavy in a way that didn't make sense for its size, and a single folded document. I unfolded it slowly. My hands didn't shake. But something inside me did. It was a property deed, remote coordinates, no address, just land. And one line written beneath it, not typed, handwritten, in my grandfather's handwriting. "They'll think it's nothing. Let them." A quiet laugh broke from across the table. "Of course he left you the junk," someone else added, "probably couldn't even sell it." The lawyer cleared his throat. "There is one more note." He hesitated, then looked directly at me again. "He instructed me to tell you this verbally." The room went still. He said, "The key is for a structure on that land, a decommissioned military bunker." That word landed heavier than anything else. "Bunker," he also said. The lawyer paused, like he didn't like repeating it, "not to open it at night." Someone scoffed, another chuckled, but I didn't. Because something about that sentence didn't feel like a joke. The land was farther out than I expected, past the last stretch of maintained road, past the places where fences still stood upright. Out where things were left alone long enough to forget what they were. I got there just before sunset. The sky had that dull orange glow that makes everything feel like it's already ending. At first, it looked like nothing, just overgrown grass, uneven ground, a few dead trees that leaned like they'd given up holding themselves together. No house, no structure. Nothing worth leaving behind. I almost laughed. They were right, it was nothing. But then I noticed it, a subtle shift in the earth, a slope that didn't belong, too smooth, too deliberate. I walked toward it slowly. The ground felt different under my boots, harder, packed, like something had been buried, not grown, and then I saw it, a metal edge, just barely visible beneath the dirt. I knelt down and brushed it off with my hands. Dust, rust, time, a door, half buried, sealed. My chest tightened. I looked around, nothing but silence. No wind, no birds, just that door, waiting. I didn't open it, not yet. The sun was already slipping away. and something about what the lawyer said stayed with me. Don't open it at night. I slept in my car that first night. Cold. Windows cracked just enough for air. The kind of sleep where every sound feels like it's meant for you. At some point, I woke up. I don't know why, but I looked out toward where the bunker was. And for a second, I thought I saw something. A faint glow, gone as quickly as it appeared. I told myself it was nothing. It had to be. There was no power out here, no reason for light. Still, I didn't go back to sleep. The next morning, the world felt different, clearer. Like whatever hesitation I had burned off overnight. I walked back to the door. This time, I didn't stop. I dug around the edges, cleared enough dirt to expose the full frame. There was a lock, old, heavy, perfectly sized for the key in my pocket. I held it for a moment. It felt colder than it should have. Then I pushed it in. It resisted at first, then turned, with a sound that echoed deeper than it should have. The door didn't open easily. I had to pull, hard. It groaned like something waking up after a long sleep. Then it gave. A rush of stale air hit me. Cold, metallic, still. I stood there at the entrance, letting my eyes adjust. Darkness swallowed everything inside, but not completely. Somewhere deeper in there was structure, steps, concrete walls, a narrow corridor disappearing into black. I stepped inside. Every sound changed. My breathing, my footsteps, even the way silence worked. It wasn't empty, it was holding something. The air felt used, like it hadn't been disturbed in years. But also not entirely abandoned. I moved slowly, each step careful. The light from outside faded behind me, until it was just me and the dark. The first room I found looked like storage. Metal shelves, most of them empty. Some still holding old boxes sealed tight, dust coated everything. Except one section, clean, too clean, like something had been moved recently. I froze, listened. Nothing still, that didn't feel right. I moved closer. There were faint marks on the floor, drag marks, fresh enough to notice, old enough to question. Something had been here, not years ago. More recently than that. I didn't open the boxes, not yet. Something told me to keep going, deeper. The corridor turned, then split. One path downward, another straight. I chose downward. The air got colder, thicker. Each step echoed longer than it should have. Then I saw it, a door different from the others, heavier, reinforced, and locked, but not with rust, with intent. I stepped closer, and that's when I noticed it, scratched into the metal, letters faint but there. If you found this, they already know. I stepped back, heart steady but slower, thinking. Measuring, this wasn't just an abandoned place. This was something left behind on purpose. And suddenly, that key in my pocket didn't feel like inheritance. It felt like a test. If you've ever been the one people overlooked, the one they counted out too early, subscribe. These stories are for you. I went back to the surface before sunset, not because I was scared, but because something in me knew this place didn't reveal everything at once. It made you earn it. That night the wind picked up, first time since I got there. It moved through the dead trees like whispers. And again I saw it. That faint glow from beneath the ground, longer this time, steadier. I didn't go down, but I didn't look away either. Over the next few days I stayed. I cleaned. I mapped the rooms, counted steps, measured distances. This wasn't random construction, it was organized, deliberate. And buried deeper than any normal bunker needed to be. I found old documents, most of them useless. Maintenance logs, supply records, all dated decades ago. But then one didn't match, a ledger. Different handwriting, not military, names, dates, transactions, not official, hidden. And every entry led back to the same location, this bunker. That's when the pressure started. A truck I didn't recognize parked near the road one afternoon. Didn't come close, just watched, then left. A call from a number I didn't know, no voice, just breathing, then silence. And then a letter, no return address, just 3 words, sell the land. I didn't respond because now I knew this wasn't worthless. They just needed me to think it was. The storm came the next night, hard, relentless, the kind that doesn't ask permission. Water started seeping into the upper level of the bunker. I worked through the night trying to block it, using whatever I could find, boards, metal sheets, anything. By morning, I was exhausted, cold, barely holding it together, and that's when I made a mistake. I went back down to the locked door, the one with the message scratched into it. I told myself I just wanted to check something, but that wasn't true. I wanted answers. I forced it open. The lock broke. The door gave. And what I found inside changed everything. It wasn't storage. It wasn't military. It was personal, photos, stacks of them. My grandfather, younger, standing in front of this same bunker, with people I didn't recognize, boxes filled with documents, letters, records, and one sealed envelope with my name on it. I opened it slowly. Inside, a letter, his handwriting, shaky but clear. If you're reading this, it means you stayed. I sat down right there on the cold floor, the storm still echoing above me, and I read, "This place was never meant to be forgotten. It was meant to be hidden. There are things in this world people bury, not because they're worthless, but because they're too valuable in the wrong hands." My chest tightened. They will try to take this from you. They already think you don't understand what it is. That's why I left it to you. I stopped breathing for a second. Because you know what it means to lose everything, and people like you don't waste what they're given. My hands shook just slightly. Everything you need is here, the truth, the proof. And what belongs to you more than it ever did to them. I looked around the room again, and for the first time I understood. This wasn't about money. This was about control. About something my grandfather had hidden from the very people sitting in that room. That's when I heard it, footsteps, above, not mine, not the storm, something else. I stood slowly. The air shifted, and for the first time since I arrived, the bunker didn't feel abandoned anymore. It felt found. The next hours blurred, confrontation, voices. People who suddenly knew exactly what this place was worth. Offers, threats, lies, but I didn't leave, because now I had something they didn't expect. Proof, documents they thought were gone. Records tied to land rights, hidden transactions, ownership claims that changed everything. They didn't want the bunker. They wanted what was buried in it. And now, so did I. The low point came that night, when I realized how deep it went, how many people were involved, how easily this could be taken from me. I almost walked away, almost left it all behind. Just like they expected. But then I read his letter again, and I remembered something simple. I had nothing before this, nothing to lose, so I stayed. I fought, quietly, carefully, using what he left me, piece by piece. And in the end, the truth did something money couldn't. It gave me back something I didn't know I'd lost. A place, a name, a reason to stand where I was without shrinking. I still go back to that bunker sometimes, not because I have to, but because I remember what it felt like to open that door for the first time. To be handed something everyone else thought was worthless, and realize it was the only thing that ever mattered. If stories of loss, mystery, and second chances stay with you, subscribe for the next one.